Part of the IKS happens to be multilingualism. And I briefly mentioned what it is. We have so much. We have 600 languages. We have lost about 80 to 100 languages already. We have 600 languages, 400 of which are used very frequently, even though the written form is much less. We will come to all these things when we discuss now. Okay, so we need to know what is multilingualism, what is significant about multilingualism, what are the connections between knowledge, script, and linguistics. This is a very important connection because you use language to share knowledge, and lot of knowledge is in script form, but there is much more knowledge in the oral form. So the oral linguistics dominate even today. And we will see what is the significance of multilingualism in IKS. We also get a good idea of what are the limitations of single language, monolinguals. Correspondingly, what are the advantages of multilingualism? And we have a latest proof of mental health, that mental health issue is related to multilingualism. And we will also see how social cohesion due to multilingualism. One of the reasons India is what it is today. So much of diversity still sticking together. The social cohesion across cultures and languages is because we are multilingual. It has been there for a very long time. We need to encourage this. We'll come to that. Okay. So what is multilingualism? It is the use of more than one language by an individual or group of speakers. Use of more than one language. Roughly 40% of the world population use 40% of the world population use more than one language, but less than 10% are actually comfortable with more than one language in reading, writing, and speaking. So one thing we find, a lot of people who are comfortable with multiple languages, most of them are at speaking level. Reading and writing multiple languages, very few. And reading and writing very well in multiple languages, even rare, but there are, of course, one thing we have to be very, very careful with India. India's population is 1.3 billion. So very few may mean also few million, okay, which is very rare in Europe or America. India has one of the largest population in the world who speak more than one language. We are a nation of polyglots. That is, we speak a lot. Please, no back talking. We speak a lot. That's why largest number of mobile phones are sold in India. Because mobile phone, what it did was it gave opportunity for us to speak 24/7. Otherwise, you have to speak when you are at home or in school and all, or college. But with mobile phone, you can speak on the road also, right? So we speak a lot. We are very verbose and very interesting. It's basically a sign of social evolution, okay? So no toilets in many houses, but many people have one or two mobiles each. Today, one mobile per person is already crossed that limit because we have more mobiles than the population. So let's look at motivation for multilingual. Why should people get more multilingual? I'm just taking Kannada because I'm from here and I'm a native of Mysore and I'm from Karnataka, even though I've lived all over the world and North India much more than here. Look at Kannada language and you have one of the highest Gnanapith award winners in India, in Kannada. These are the 8 people, okay? Now, out of these 8 people, what is interesting is 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4, their mother tongue is not Kannada. One is Marathi, the other is Tamil, the third is Konkani, the fourth one again is Marathi. So we have people whose mother tongue is not Kannada, but they have won Gnanapith Award for Kannada literature. And Professor Anant Murthy was a professor in English, even though he got the Gnanapith Award for Kannada. So this is the kind of, having multiple language knowledge is actually an asset to write well. Okay, you can express. In fact, there are some words in other languages which are better than in our mother tongue. Okay, that's another issue. The other interesting contemporary person is this person is blind but can speak 22 languages. He is a Sanskrit and Hindi scholar, even though it doesn't use Braille as a Braille interface or Braille interpreter. He has made himself a lifelong chancellor of Jagadguru Rambhadracharya Handicapped University at Chitrakuta. It gives admission, UG and PG admission to all youngsters, boys and girls, with any of the 4 types of disabilities: hearing, speech, vision, and physical deformities. He's author of 80 books, and 2 years back, last year actually, got the Gnanapith Award. Okay. Speak 22 languages. These are also interesting. Everybody knows he's world famous, R.K. Narayan. R.K. Narayan spent a lot of his time in Mysore, and I did visit him because his grandson was my classmate, good friend. So R.K. Narayan, even though is world famous for his writing in English, his mother tongue is Tamil, and his second language was Kannada. Similarly, one of the world's best social anthropologists, M.N. Srinivas, I met him. He was in NIAS after his retirement, and I had an opportunity to meet him. And an amazing book in English, The Remembered Village, written when he was in University of California, Berkeley. His mother tongue is again Tamil. His second language is Kannada, but exceedingly good writing in English. This everybody knows. His mother tongue is Kannada. He's very comfortable with Marathi. It's almost like his mother tongue. But he has sung in some 18 different languages, right? Even more, not many of you would know, but the world's greatest mathematician of recent times, he passed away last year. Professor C.R. Rao was born in Karnataka, I mean, what is now Karnataka, Ballari area. Mother tongue is Telugu, but world renowned in statistics and mathematics. Okay. So multilingualism is an asset. It is not a liability. Please don't ever think that learning another language is a waste, because it definitely gives you more benefit and advantages. We'll come to that little later. Okay. Even more interesting is this. See, Tagore got the Nobel Prize. Why did Tagore got the Nobel Prize? He got Nobel Prize for Geetanjali, which was written in Bengali. But Geetanjali was translated from Bengali to English by Yeats. Because that translation was in English, he got the Nobel Prize. Because those days the rule was only books and authors published in English could get the Nobel Prize, which means Kalidasa would not have got it, right? So you can see even the recognition for truth is not very fair and very objective. A classic example is one of the world's most influential writer, Tolstoy, right? His original work was in Russian, but these are the English translations which reached the whole world and influenced. In fact, the greatest influence Tolstoy had was on Mahatma Gandhi. That's why Gandhi's first experiment, social experiment, he called it Tolstoy Farm in South Africa. It's amazing. So we would never have known his ideas, his perception, his worldview, his expressions, if it were not in English. But my question is, maybe his work in Russian may have been even better because he was able to express much better in his mother tongue, right? People all know Lata Mangeshkar. She has sung in some 34 languages. Even more interesting is this writer who wrote all his books in Spanish. In fact, I had a classmate who went to Mexico many years ago. And as soon as he returned back from there, he says, why none of you are not reading Gabriel Marquez? If you don't read Gabriel Marquez, you are not part of the literature anymore. But unfortunately, all the books those days by Gabriel Marquez was in Spanish. And the understanding that is he waited almost 30 years for a Nobel Prize because later they changed the rule that non-English literature also can get Nobel Prize. And that is how, after that, majority of the people who have got Nobel Prize are people who have not written in English. And Gabriel Marquez is one of them. Okay, he waited 40 years for Nobel Prize because his writing is so influential and impressive. So uh, that's the reason why we need to be multilingual, because you need truth, you need expressions, you need ideas, you need a worldview from different people who have gone through different experiences in life. If you encompass all that, or you get a glimpse of all that, you get enriched. So one of the greatest thing that we did was the three language formula. Even though it's not implemented well, I think people should persist and make sure it is done well. Three language formula for Indian education is a wonderful thing. So why multilingualism? Critical mechanism to understand, communicate, and transact with others' culture, other knowledge system, and trade. For example, for 3,000 years, people in Kerala and West Coast, right from Bharuch in Gujarat all the way to Thiruvananthapuram, people have been trading with Arabs, Syrians, East African people, all that. How did they trade? Forget writing. Writing came much late. But at least you have to speak to trade. So people have always been having this language interpreters. All traders speak multiple languages because it is an advantage to speak in the language in which you want to transact. Not only that, it enhances the knowledge system of everyone when interaction, assimilation, integration of diverse and richer thoughts and experiences, perceptions happen. That is how today language is very rich all over, because at least in the last 150 years, lot of people have spoken to each other in different languages and enriched. For example, if you look at Oxford Dictionary now, words like chutney, catamaran are all Oxford English Dictionary words. In fact, the latest word in the English dictionary is avatar, after that famous Avatar movie. So avatar is another English word now. So only why English is so useful is it in the last 40-50 years, it has changed its rigid stance and started incorporating useful terminologies and words and expressions in multiple languages into English. it is not necessary that our own language has the best expression for human thought, because after all, languages means expressing human thought. For example, a word like prayashchit. It's a beautiful word. There is no equivalent word for this in English. I hope after another 5 years or 10 years, this prayashchit itself becomes a word in English, because it's such a fine expression about a human state of mind, which has no equivalent word in English, right? So human thoughts and emotions transcend language barrier and needs to be bridged. I know my cousin's family. They were in Calcutta. The local language was Bengali. The other language they had to take was Hindi. And the third language they had to take was English. Their father was Kannada, my uncle, and their mother was Marathi. So these children learned 5 languages by the time they were 6 years old. And today they have friends in 5 different languages. So their social network is so rich, and they are almost universally comfortable everywhere. Okay. So this is one advantage that this brings. Plus, you can enjoy songs, you can enjoy jokes in that language, which we miss. Okay, so life is definitely enriched with multiple languages. So look at this 2 interesting examples. Almost all railway stations in India put their board in 3 languages: the local language, Hindi, and English. This is a board in Malaysia. This is in Indonesia, where they have written the board in 4 languages: English, Mandarin, the Tamil, and Indonesian language. So this is something that's interesting, because you are allowing different diversity of thoughts and expressions to simultaneously exist, enriching each other. Okay. Even more interesting, supposedly the marriage between Helena, who was daughter of Seleucus Nicator, with Chandragupta when he lost the battle to Chandragupta. What language were they talking? They're husband and wife. But there is some myth that it's not husband and wife. She is daughter-in-law of Chandragupta. There's some issue there. But what language did they speak? He knew Prakrit and Pali. She perhaps knew a little of Pashtun or Kharoshti, I don't know. But that's it. So such cases are very common, where they have bridged. Now they are forced to learn each other's language and maybe enrich whatever. Similarly, the same here. This is in Vidisha, where 2nd century current area, where Brahmi script, the Eastern Greek Empire ambassador Heliodorus came here, gave gift gold coins to the Vaishnava temple here, and converted to Vaishnavism. Okay. And this pillar writes that it is written in Prakrit with Sanskritized spellings, Brahmi script, right? So many interesting things are there in different languages. So if you want to know interesting things, you may not find it in your own language. Every language is interesting, but you may find more interesting things in other languages. And you want to make your life interesting, one of the easiest ways to know different languages. So what are the advantages and disadvantages? Every human activity has advantage and disadvantage. Okay. Ability to understand and interact with different knowledge systems. That's one thing. Okay. Because all original knowledge systems are not in English or in the language that we use. Social, cultural, and economic benefits of knowing different language. enhancing some expression in our own language. For example, now a beautiful word in English called avatar. Avatar, we all know avatar. It's just a manifestation in multiple forms of the same entity. But you see, manifestation of the same form in multiple entities is one sentence in English, but that is one word called avatar in Sanskrit. Suppose that word is there in English as an avatar as a word, one sentence is now replaced by one word, and it's beautiful, no doubt. Okay, so this is the way. Health and opportunities proven to improve. People who speak multiple languages are known to be healthier than others who speak single language. There are also other opportunities, whether it is cultural, whether it is economic, or even matrimonial opportunities, right? And more interesting, truth can be better discerned in original language. For example, you want to know something correctly, it will be good to read that in the original language in which the writer had written. In fact, my guide was exploring some mathematics, and then what he was seeing was all the English version. He felt there is something not all right. He then said, maybe I should explore the original German or the French version where the original scientists had done it in that language. And he actually checked it up and found out that there is small error between what is actually told in French and what is actually written in English. And he picked that French one and then made some progress on that. So that's the way it goes, okay? The disadvantage is effort spent on multiple languages may not yield benefit. See, language is useful only if it is continuously used. More expensive and no cumulative benefit if not consistently used. Another thing. I learned German when I was in class 11 and 12. But it is today waste because I never could use it continuously. I didn't have interaction with Germans to enhance my and build familiarity. Today, with some difficulty, I can still read, but it is really no use. Okay, so it's like an expensive excursion for 2 years. And at what cost to master one or learn more? Same effort if I had put on Kannada or English, maybe my Kannada and English would have improved rather than other language. And today's online translators make it redundant to learn. This is another problem with modern artificial intelligence, machine learning. Today, online translations have become reasonably good. So there is no motivation to learn other language. You learn one language and get that anything you want to read or hear translated to that. In fact, there is a very good medical advantage. This is the link of March 17, 2024. Bilingual mechanism cuts dementia. So numerous scholarly articles, well researched from Europe and USA, they all conclude bilingualism, at least two languages in speech, allows for better cognition and lower incidence and degree of dementia. It is indeed a serious problem as USA and to a lesser extent Europe is monolingual. This is the problem. Why there is so much case of dementia in Western countries is because all of them are monolingual. We are at least most of us are bilingual. We have a mother tongue and English or mother tongue and Kannada, whatever. Many of us are trilingual. So that's one reason why India has a lower incidence of dementia compared to any other developed country. Now let's go back to language issue. Question is, how did this language evolve? Any difference between spoken and written form? Is there one source for all languages? Specific to India, what can we say? Have other knowledge systems faced such issues? If they faced, how did they solve? Okay, some answers for this. Languages have been part of human evolution, quite recent on time scale. Okay. We need to understand different phases of human evolution to understand this. So we will go back in time. See here. This is how the human evolution seems to have happened. There is a lot of genetic and anthropological evidence for that. So the original Homo erectus and other predecessors, Neanderthals and all that, seem to have first emerged out of Africa. So, out of Africa, they came around 70,000 years back to here and they migrated all over. They reached Australia 50,000 years back. So, while reaching from India, they also went to Andamans and stayed there. Okay. North America and Central America were all populated only 15,000 years back, right? These are about, this is the most recent, Homo erectus. Earlier ones, yeah, about 2 million years back, people moved out and it's been there, okay? So what do people do when they move out? This is really what has happened, okay? Anthropologically, they say what has really happened is the brain volume of modern humans has slowly increased. This is the brain volume 6 million years back, didn't change much. Then slowly it evolved. This is the modern human. And you can see the volume is approximately 3 times bigger than what it was of our predecessors. And maybe in another few millennium years, we may have even bigger volume, is what the human evolution indicates. Now, evolution of languages and brain volume are related because this, see here. This is the amount of language diversity. See, so few languages in North America and South America. Lot of languages in Asia, particularly India. The amount of languages in India is about the amount of languages in whole of African continent. Similarly, Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia has lot of languages. In fact, this is the old world. This is the new world, which has very little. This is really what it is. Early languages for Neanderthals and then modern evolution of anatomically modern humans split from Neanderthals. And it's interesting for those who want to do linguistics and anthropology and biology, evolutionary biology are three very good topics for understanding all these things. So more and more complicated languages came up. Okay. Grammar is a very late entry. So grammar is one of the world's greatest human creation. We'll come to that. So what happened is, you see the skull pattern, it has changed. Because of the brain complexity, less complex languages were being handled and understood. And as the brain evolved, more complex languages could be handled, like modern languages. Changes in brain and cognition increase social complexity. That is, earlier people would be hunter-gatherers. They would be in small groups, move around. When people started making villages and became what one calls settled culture, nomadic culture, migratory culture is different. Settled culture is you stay at one place and make your life. When you settle down, all these things happen. cities came, languages developed, technology developed, then all these ideas of gods and other thing, kings, kingdom, ministers, governance, laws, all this came. Okay. Another thing is increased juvenile period, increased parenting behavior, teaching through input enhancement. See, we are mammals. Let's take a look at other mammals. See, when a child is born, let's take a deer or antelope. The baby is born, that baby will be with the mother for about 2 weeks at the most. After that, the baby is on its own. If it can survive, it will survive. Otherwise, it gets killed. It's not like humans. Humans, what? Baby is born, baby is kept in the house for 3 to 4 years, and all the time talking is done, reinforcement, make them talk, say, yeah, ah, ooh, all that. So, increased parenting that has made complex languages like what we use today become part of our culture. So just as an example, since we are talking in English, I thought I'll show an example of English. And you can see here, earliest English is around 200 BCE, which had Celtic origin, basically Celtic migration into that area. Then the Romans occupied, so Latin got included into that. Then Germanic settlements, Anglo-Saxon languages came in. Then Viking invasion, Old Norse words came in. Then Norman invasion, Renaissance, mixing of French, Latin, Greek, and Italian words into English. Then when the British started colonizing from 1700, words from Hindi, Persian, Arabic, Turkish, Malay, English, American English, all came. So today, modern English is this. It has taken about 1,200 years to 2,000 years of all mixture to look like this.
Double one.
You can say here.
000.
Early modern English, Shakespearean English. This is late modern, right? This is old English. Similarly here, we have old Kannada and modern Kannada. Similarly, all languages.
11110004.
So can we now see these issues? What influence Greeks had on languages? What influence Romans had? What have Persians had on languages?
One class break number 1 hour.
What about Sanskrit? What about Dravidian languages? What about numerous languages that have no script, like Kodava, Konkani, Sanketi? All these have no script. Arabashe, they have no script. So you have 400 to 600 languages in India with no script. Now, are languages imposed? How is governance connected with language? These are the questions to ask. For example, the court language was Persian for 700 years. As soon as Muhammad bin Tughlaq's empire started, the court language became Persian, and there was hardly anybody who knew Persian among the population. Even in 1785, court language was Persian in Mysore kingdom. This is what Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan did. Court language was Kannada till then. Suddenly they changed it to Persian. English was the court and administrative language from 1825 till 1947, and it continues. Puducherry, Diu, etc. had French, and Goa had Portuguese as the court language, administrative. China is facing a more serious problem regarding this because today English is the economic and the knowledge language. Information language is English. They have no English base. China, one of the most valuable, highly paid person is a good English teacher. In fact, I know many Britishers who have gone to China, they have earned millions of rupees, only millions of dollars also, by only sitting at home and becoming an English tutor. So, just like getting an American visa here, there knowing English is a virtue in China. This is what is problem there. Okay. And the numbers are very large, 1.3 billion. You see, what is now known is about 4,500 BC, which means 6,500 years back, there was a native language, what one calls the Proto-Indo-European language, which is like a mother language to all languages of Asia and Europe. Okay. And it can be traced. That broke up into many of them. Italic, Hellenistic, then Celtic, Anatolian, Indo-Iranian language, Balto-Slavic language. You can see here things on the right. And this Indo-Iranian language split into Indo-Aryan language and Iranian language. Came down Marathi, Sinhala, Bengali, Odia, Bhojpuri, Punjabi. Now, finally, late language, very late language is Hindi. Hindi is a very late language, Hindi and Urdu. Okay. But languages in this group have some more commonality than languages between these two groups, whereas languages in these groups are more common among them. Okay. Fact that most languages had a common origin. One interesting word is evolution of the word to in the Indo. So it started with do, duo, do, the, all this. In 50 different languages, the equivalent of two. Finally, two in English, twa in Swedish, two in Nigerian, zwei in Yiddish, zwei in German, two in English. This is Danish. So many things. Duo in Baluchi language. Persian is do. Kurdish is do. So this is how people now, linguistics is a very interesting subject, very challenging. Similarly, you look at Indo-European language. Sanskrit is dvi, Serbian is dva, English two, Sanskrit tri, Serbian tri, English three. Very common. So many commonalities are there because they have all evolved from the same root. First evidence of bilingual writing. This is perhaps a translation done in 2270 BC. So approximately 4,000 years back. This 5,000 years back. You can see here two portions, same content written in two different forms, same content. Similarly, you'll see in Eastern Turkey, the Shasana done by Xerxes, done in 485 BC, almost 3,000 years back. It's written in Old Persian, Elamite, and Akkadian language, but using cuneiform script. Script is the same. Like what we have now. We have the same script, Devanagari script for Hindi, Gujarati, Bengali, Bhojpuri, almost all the North Indian languages use Devanagari script, but language is different. Similarly here, this using same script, they have written in three different languages. One of the interesting thing is this was discovered in 1799 in a village called Rosetta in Egypt when Napoleon occupied that. Multilingualism.
ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಸರ್ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ
ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು ಇದಾಗಿ ಒಂಚೂರು ರೇಷನ್ ಮಾತಾಡ
ವಿದ್ಯಾಮಣಿ ಅವ್ರ
So this stone was discovered in a village called Rosetta in Egypt. And this had information in three languages. One is ancient Greek, because Greeks had conquered Egypt. Egyptian Demotic language, which is the language of the
ಯಾವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮದು ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅದನ್ನ ಬಿಟ್ಕೊಡ್ಬಾರ್ದು ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರಿಗೆ.
locals.
ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನಾವು ಆಸೋರ್ ಬಾಯಿಗೆ
ವಿದ್ಯಾಮಣಿ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಮೈಕು.
ಅಲ್ವಾ?
ವಿದ್ಯಾಮಣಿ ಮೇಡಮ್.
Egyptian Demotic language is the local language, and Demotic language is the language of Jesus Christ. Then Egyptian hieroglyphics. So this French linguist, he deciphered
ಈಗ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಏನ್ ಡಿಟೇಲ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಸರಿಯಿಲ್ಲ.
lot of disturbance. I don't know why people. Anyways, so see, this is the same message in three languages: ancient Greek, Egyptian Demotic, which is the same language which Jesus Christ was using, and Egyptian hieroglyphics. So knowing that the message is the same, this linguist was, there are still people who can read ancient Greek. People are there to read Demotic, but using this information, he was able to reconstruct hieroglyphics. Hieroglyphics is a symbolic language, graphic language. This is scripting language. So he was able to do this. And what is interesting is multilingualism was a necessity in strong economic cultures. Wherever there is economic prosperity, you will need multiple languages because wealth comes from all parts of the world. In fact, in Egypt, they have recently discovered a warehouse along the Red Sea which has Tamil inscriptions. So, lot of Tamilians would go to Egypt 3,000 years back as part of the trade. They had their storehouse and warehouse. So, they also have Tamil inscription there. And you have found lot of Roman gold coins in Kerala, which means trade was done through exchange of wealth. See here, there's a nice this thing, 2nd century current era. It says library open from sunrise to noon. No book is to be taken out, done on oath, which means before you enter the library, it says library open from sunrise to noon, but no book can be taken out, and you have to give an oath that you will not take the book out, which means stealing from the library is a practice part of humanity for thousands of years. How languages spread? Because these are the ancient trade routes. Southern Europe, Northern Africa, Middle East, West Asia, Central Asia, all of them here, China, Southeast Asia, very important. West coast of India, little of the East coast, Tamil Nadu East coast, particularly what is Tuticorin today used to be a town called Korkai those days. Machilipatnam, people used to come there, and Sri Lanka was most intense trading point because people from China, Southeast Asia used to come here. People from West Asia and East Africa would come to Sri Lanka, exchange goods. These people would come here, go back. These people would come here, exchange with these people and go. So finally, goods from Europe and Africa would reach China through Sri Lanka. This is a very interesting inscription written in Greek, okay, on the other side of the Hindu Kush mountain, written in Kushan period, which is 133 AD. And it mentions many things. It is written in Greek, but this Rabatak inscription tells about the following. This is Rabatak place. This is the Hindu Kush pass on the other side of this. Cities, India, cities and Hinduism is written there in the period 100 to 150 AD. It mentions Ayodhya as Saketa, mentions Kausambi, Sri Kampa, Patliputra. All this is mentioned here in this. In fact, this inscription was used in the Babri Masjid court case to prove the existence of Ayodhya. So Greek inscription was one of the clinching evidence to tell that there was a city called Ayodhya in 2000 years back. Now, a lot of North Indian languages are highly influenced and derived from Sanskrit. This is not, I mean, for these things, 100% proof is difficult to give, but it appears, and there is some evidence that south of the Caspian Sea, in a place called, kingdom called Mitanni, which is eastern Syria and Iraq. This is the place where Sanskrit seems to have developed, because the Mitanni languages contain Agni, Varuna, Vayu, and so the natural elements, the Panchabhutas as we call now, the equivalent is what is mentioned there. And this is about 3500 BC, so about 5,500 years back. So the North Indian Aryan languages started with Vedic Sanskrit. Please remember, Vedic Sanskrit is not in written form, it is oral form. The early Rig Veda. That's why all the Veda chanting is oral and it is musical. So the early Vedic Sanskrit was musical and it became a written Sanskrit later. The Vedic Sanskrit developed into Prakrit, and Prakrit influenced so many North Indian languages, including Pali, then Magadhi. Magadhi led to Odia, Bengali, Assami, all these languages. Okay. So then it came to Hindustani, Hindi, Urdu, Haryani, all these, western part, northern Indian, Maharashtra, from Prakrit, Maharashtra, Marathi and Konkani language. Konkani did not have script. Marathi had a Devanagari script. All these have Devanagari script. So there is some issue about why the languages are oral and this thing. There is a very interesting Indologist from Harvard University. He said the Vedic texts were orally composed and transmitted without the use of script in an unbroken line of transmission from teacher to student that was formalized early on. This ensured an impeccable textual transmission superior to the classical texts of other cultures. It is, in fact, something like a tape recording of the year 1500 to 500 BC, because it's only after 500 BC you start seeing written forms. Not just the actual word, but even the long lost musical accent. And similarly, old languages, ancient Greek and ancient Japanese were also very musical. Modern Greek and Japanese is not. So on the other hand, the Vedas have been written down only during the early second millennium CE, while some sections such as the collection of the Upanishads were perhaps written down at the middle of the first millennium, while some early unsuccessful attempts indicating certain Smriti rules forbidden to write down the Vedas. That is the reason why Vedas were only oral. One of the earliest writing to India, you can see in Karnataka, in a place called Maski and another place called Brahmagiri near Ballari. where you have on the stone rocks Ashoka's edict. So he had written it in Brahmi script. So, beloved to gods, Emperor Ashoka, whatever. The name Ashoka mentioned on the musky stone slab here. Okay. This is the musky stone slab near Raichur, but this is the Brahmagiri, same, very similar inscription done. So, it is with Ashoka's inscription that history starts in India, because you have first evidence of writing here. Earlier to that, we have no evidence of writing. Everything is oral. And so before this period, it is termed as prehistory. History starts with Ashoka's inscription. And it is related. You can see the Phoenicians, who are there now in northern part of Syria, their script. And you can see here, fourth column, 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth column is Phoenician and fifth column is Brahmi. So the Phoenician script and the Brahmi script, and the Brahmi script which is converted to modern Devanagari now. Okay. You can see here. Ka is almost the same here, right? It has evolved over a period of time. It has evolved from this to this to this to this, finally this now. But all the scripts are in some way interrelated. We don't know where the mother script may have come from. So Devanagari is a very new language. It's an important language. It's not a native language to India. It has evolved only in 10th and 11th century. This is it. So all Indo-European languages split into Indo-Aryan language, Indo-Iranian, then Indo-Aryan language, and European language. This is the Proto-Indo-European language of about 7,000 years back. Here it is. Proto-Indo-European language broke into European language, and this into the Sanskrit is here, Indo-Iranian, Bardic language, all this. Names of writing scripts used by 22 shells. See, all of these yellow, different states, all of them use Devanagari. Even Marathi uses Devanagari. Here, Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, Malayalam, right? Two dominant script, even though 22 different languages. Devanagari script and Dravidian script. So, current Dravidian languages are here, dominated in South India, and few pockets of tribal areas in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Bihar. What is very interesting is you find one Dravidian language on the Pakistan-Iran border. This language is Brahui. This is very similar to any of the Dravidian language. We don't know why there is so much gap and etc. These are all interesting research topics that are going on. But they have done a lot of genetic mapping, and it appears that the Sumerian language is in some sense mapping with many of the Tamil words now. So the idea is perhaps before the Aryan migration, there was no Aryan invasion, Aryan migration was there. Perhaps before the Aryan migration, 8,000 years back, Proto-Dravidians may have come to Indus Valley civilization. And when the Aryans moved there, these people may have come down south, carrying with them the Dravidian language. This is one theory. Lot of work is going on, both genetic studies, anthropological studies, all that. Hopefully, we will find some interesting results. But definitely, Dravidian language is older than the Devanagari script. So we had a Proto-Dravidian which split into Proto-North Dravidian, Central and South. In South it broke further, and Proto-South Dravidian second version split into Tamil, Malayalam, Iruja, Kodagu, Kurumba, Toda, Kota, all these, so many, including Tulu, right? And Proto-South divided Telugu, Gondi, Konda, Kai, Kavi, all these are Munda, this tribal languages. In fact, here you can see Tulu has no script, Korga has no script, Kannada has script, Badga has no script, Kota has no script, Toda has no script, this has no script, this has no script, Malayalam has a script, Tamil has a script. So this is really what it is. So a lot of spoken languages. So we had a Proto-Dravidian language, it became South Dravidian, then Tamil, it broke further into Tamil, Malayalam and Tulu, Kannada, all this. Okay. So this is the spread of Dravidian languages. About 220 million people with 100 different languages, including this Brahui that I mentioned there. So we have more and mature and refined languages models. For example, of all the languages, if you have alphabets and all the combinations of alphabets is the maximum language. You can also have language with only finite expressions or finite alphabets. Then regular language, deterministic context-free, all these deterministic context-free language are computer languages. Non-deterministic, iteratively ambiguous, context-free languages, context-sensitive languages, recursive, all this. So this is what linguists and people who do computer compilers and all that start using these things. Today, all of you talk about AI, machine learning, all that. Very interesting things and also very disturbing things are happening. For example, in another 5 years, you may get a phone where you can select the language you want to talk, and you can also select the language to which the person with whom you are talking can listen. So you can press a button saying, I will talk in English, and press another button saying the person who hears this call should listen to it in Russian, and you talk in English, that person will hear in Russian, he will talk in Russian, you will hear in English. So this is the kind of thing that's happening. For example, we have Hindi to English translators available. So it encodes Hindi and then decodes. This is what your ChatGPT, OpenAI, all of them are doing. So you have Hindi to English, you have English to Marathi. Very easy to do Hindi to Marathi. So you have encoders and decoders in different language. Any combination you can do and talk. So this one of the disadvantages of modern AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning is that while it allows you to talk and read different languages, you may not learn those languages because it will kill all the languages. You need to know one, and you can get anything you want in that language. Okay. Some observation. 3 language formula is very useful. It will be interesting to have first mother tongue, which can either be Dravidian or Devanagari. The second language can be English, because English knowledge is both an economic and a language of the knowledge. The third language must be reverse of mother tongue, meaning if the mother tongue is Dravidian, let the third language be Devanagari. That way, it is also good for national integration, because while large number of South Indians learn Hindi, majority of the North Indians don't learn any South Indian language. This is a serious problem. I think people in Delhi should first mend their ways and observe this. They should make one Devanagari, whatever Hindi for them, one Dravidian language compulsory as a third language. if they take Hindi as first language. And similarly, many of us do take Hindi as a third language because it is useful. Okay. Suppose you want to learn a fourth language, Spanish is a good fourth language because it is definitely the future is in South America. Russian is a good fourth language simply because Russia is a very large country with low population and people are still dying now because of Ukraine war. So you can survive well there. Japanese also because Japanese, the population is sinking, dwindling. The fertility rate has come far below the manageable level of replacement. Or you can look at any Slavic language which will allow people to live in Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, the Baltic countries, Latvia, Estonia, all that. So this is some idea of multilingualism. What is really the advantage of learning one language? Learning more languages. First thing, learning language well helps you to do better cognition. It will also give you better life skills. It is also known that test scores are better for people who know language well. And in adulthood, success in college. That's why whenever people apply to American universities, there is a column which says, if your mother tongue is not English, please do all this. Okay. There are also very clear indication that people who know multiple languages or know language well tend to earn higher, greater scope for employability. That is what is happening in India. You can see in rural area, lot of people are being taught functional English, which will give them an opportunity to work immediately as a waiter, as service, basically service sector. In fact, one of the highest service sector jobs is for you, for youngsters in India is in Goa, because Goa, majority of the people have English as a good communication language. So you'll see lot of youngsters in Goa after class 10, they don't study further, come and work in Hyderabad. And at maturity level, the following is already proven. People with language skills have healthier brain, which means different parts of the brain connects better when you speak in different languages. Similarly, the muscles of your face. People with multiple languages also are known to recover better. And some strange statistics which says people who live long also have an ability to have known more languages. So these are all correlations, and there is no 100% scientific proof, but statistics show that this is a fact. As I said again, this reference about humanity and about all of us know about the world and the humans across generations. Okay. And this, another reference to get know about India, Indians, and some amazing things about Indian knowledge system. For example, we are talking in English now. 1000 years back, 1400 to 1500 years back, and even till the last 700 years back, large number of kingdoms in Asia, both West Asia, China, Southeast Asia, and even Central Asia. One of the important languages in the court kingdom, the inner ministries and elite. For example, you will be surprised 90% of all the meetings in Delhi, the medium of communication is English. All the senior bureaucrats, Reserve Bank of India meetings are in English, all that. There, particularly in Southeast Asia and China, including Central Asia, many of the ministries and key court language,
Hello.
communication language, used to be Sanskrit.
Okay.
So this is what you will read and understand from this. Okay. Now I will stop here.